Amen. Also for Mark that.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll try to make this quick. A couple months ago, Cameron planned a camping trip, and about 40 young adults with their kids went out to the mountains, and I had asked the gentlemen in attendance to prepare a brief message, if they could, 5-10 minutes, whatever God was leading them to speak on for all of us out there in the mountains. And I kicked it off, and it was so interesting. I talked about what I was grateful for most, what I'm blessed for, blessed by, just what I'm grateful for. And the first thing that always comes to my mind is health. And I pray about this regularly. So we have eyes to see, we have ears to hear. Many of us, not all of us, unfortunately, but most of us have legs that can get us moving. We have brains that can think. So I'm constantly grateful for good health. And as Bill had shared earlier, I don't know, maybe it was a week later, after I had given this little talk up in the mountains with all of our friends from Rock Valley, Preston had her strokes. It's just, I don't know. I don't know why that happened. I guess it was God talking. And then just another little aspect, I don't know what Cameron wanted to share, but that it was really interesting. I don't know why I'm even going to share it, but I've been around for 30 years believing, and I have never cried out to God, not once. And there's probably a lot of you in here who've never cried out to God. But when I was in that hospital, I never cried out to God. It took me 31 years to literally, and David was there, David and Stephanie, Brother Juan, was right there at the bedside. That was the very first time I actually cried out to God. And he was faithful. And, we thank all of you. Preston's running around here. We hear her screaming and crying, but what a blessing that is. She's here, she's healthy, she's well, and we're supposed to be in Italy, but she couldn't fly. So that's why we're here for the feast. So that's why we're here, and we're excited and we're blessed, and we wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So thank you so much for all of your prayers. Many of you fasted and prayed, and we're speechless. We felt the love, and Preston's been healed. So thank you.
So just a couple other things to share with that. So obviously, any of you who have kids, the last thing you want to hear is there's something wrong with your kid. So I just remember praying a specific prayer before we had found out that anything was really wrong with Preston. And I just prayed that whatever it was, that it would be used for God's glory. And when you're in the pediatric ward at a hospital, you see a lot of sick kids. So we had the opportunity to have Preston in a wagon, which a lot of you guys saw the picture of her in the wagon. She loved to go around the halls. But there's kids in there having chemotherapy for cancer and just super sick kids, And we got to walk around and pray for these kids as we were walking around. And so I was sitting there outside. Preston was actually having her MRI at the time before we found out that she had her strokes. And I just remember praying, just use this for your glory, whatever it is, just use it for your glory. And, when we found this out, and you don't really know the prognosis when doctors first tell you that something's wrong. And just the amount of support that came, not only from our church family, but from people outside who are not believers, saying, we don't pray, but we're going to pray for Preston. And then she was healed, We sat there, we prayed, and God is so faithful. And, as a child who has grown up in this faith. Something that I think a lot of us struggle with is that we don't necessarily have a testimony, like a specific testimony, like where we can think of, yeah, I remember that time where he just changed my mind. I don't remember that time. It's just always been, which thank God for that, right? But at the same time, I wanted Preston to have a testimony, and it had been something that I have thought about. And so I think especially for like you young people, like understand that there's not a person that is too small to be used as a vessel for God. That you can be a testimony, and that Preston's a testimony for you now. And she can be used to glorify him. Because you know that this miracle happened here in this church. You witnessed it. You prayed for it. It happened. That's a miracle, right? We read about it in the Bible all the time. We think, oh, that's just in the Bible days. Like those things don't happen anymore. You know, we were just studying this recently. You know, you see all these miracles happen. Where are they today? Where are all the miracles? Well, they happen. Like, let's talk about them, right? Let's talk about them. Talk about your friends. Talk to your friends about the miracle that happened in your church, that a baby was healed. She has a testimony now, and I'm so thankful for that. So thank you for the support and for the love, and we're thankful for you guys.